Old dog boxing, motherfucker.
Going, oh, Eddie Hearn gets a prospect beat. Fuck off. If you can't beat those guys, you're not the fighter that I thought you are. And if you lose tonight, it's not the end of the road for you. You've got to rebuild and you've got to come back better. Like, if you don't want to watch competitive fights, if you don't want to see prospects tested just a little bit when they're 8-1 on, fuck off and don't watch my shows, because I'm going to give you real fights and I'm going to give you entertainment. And guess what? Sometimes when people underperform or they're not good enough, they're going to lose. Not every prospect is going to go on and be a world champion. But if you spoon feed them and never put them in anything competitive, one, it's a shit product. Two, it's a con for the fans. And three, you're not doing the right job for the fighter, because when they get to the top, they're not going to be good enough. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yo, I agree with Eddie Hearn right here, 1,000%. At a certain point, you must be able to take that life jacket off your prospect and see if they'll sink or swim. Fuck all that spoon feeding and holding your prospect's hand. If these guys are claiming that they're with the shit, they're the boxers that they claim that they are, and they want that smoke, then give it to them. They're asking for it. You know what I'm saying? Another thing is this too. We have to get away from this notion that once a young prospect loses a fight or he loses it's over for him, or his career's over. We have to get away from that, especially here in the American boxing scene, man. If the young fighter wins, great. But if he doesn't, and if he loses, it's okay. He lives. He lives to fight another day. Just like Craig's dad said. But, yeah, man, I agree with Eddie Hearn. We want to see competitive fights. I don't know about y'all, but DAZN is charging me $30 a month for these shows. And I work hard for my money, so yeah, give me 50-50 fights. I'm paying $30 a month. I want to be entertained, not watch uncompetitive fights just so these young prospects could not lose their undefeated record. So yeah, I agree with Eddie Hearn, man. Put these young fighters to the test. And then you have fucking lops like this guy, Rick Glazier, hating on Eddie Hearn. He leaves a post on X, the app formerly known as Twitter, and I quote, "History keeps repeating itself. Two of Eddie Hearn's undefeated prospects, Hackett and Castro, are no longer undefeated, as both lost in Puerto Rico on the Matchroom show on DAZN. This is what happens when you don't have real boxing guys in your organization." End quote. This dude right here, Rick Glazier, let me tell you something about this dude, Rick Glazier, man. This dude's a fucking hypocrite, because Top Rank also had a prospect lose, Santillán. He lost to Brian Orman Jr. You didn't see this guy post anything about Santillán losing to Brian Orman Jr. and Bob Arum and Top Rank dropping the ball and not knowing what they're doing with the prospects and this and that. So this guy Rick Glazier is advocating for softer matchmaking. For what? So these younger fighters could have padded records? Nah, man. Nah, we're not doing that no more. We've been doing that in the American boxing scene, and you've seen how far that gets us. The boxing scene here in the U.S. has been fading into obscurity for years now because of that approach. And then you have this fucking dummy, right? J-Rock, co-signing Rick Glazier's post saying this, and I quote, "No bullshit, Matchroom needs to fire their matchmaker ASAP. That's 3 blue chip prospects in the last 2 cards," end quote. Eddie Hearn responds with this, and I quote, "Bad attitude. If you lose fights, you should be winning. It means you aren't and weren't good enough. It's called sport, and you could come again," end quote. Yeah, man, I can't help but agree with Hearn again, man. If you're losing fights versus guys that you should just be running through, then obviously you are not as good as you think you are. You're not that guy, pal. Sorry. Go back to the drawing board. Figure it out. Jaleel Hackett. Okay, let me tell y'all something about Jaleel Hackett. He was a minus 2,000 favorite versus Jose Roman, who was a plus 1,200 underdog. And a lot of people were yelling and crying robbery for Jaleel Hackett. Jaleel Hackett should have won and this and that. But see, my whole thing is this. If you were that much of a clear favorite, then it should have not even been close. There's no reason why this fight should have been that close that people are yelling robbery. He should have got Roman the fuck up out of there. And then on top of that, Jaleel Hackett didn't even make weight. So there's more proof that this guy didn't take this fight serious. But somehow, some way, this is all Eddie Hearns' fault. Man, this is nasty work, yo. This is nasty work. You have all of these haters and critics hating on Hearn. And for a few reasons that I could conjure up. One, Matchroom is on top of the game right now versus the competition. Their competition as far as the United States goes. So, yeah, there's that. You know, you're always going to have haters and enemies when you're successful. That's just what it is. And the second reason I think that they hate on Hearn so much is because he's not American. That's the only reasons I can see why these guys hate and they love critiquing Eddie Hearn so much. Just for trying to find out who's the real steppers in the stable. These young fighters want to get paid, man. Let them earn their money, man. These fucking guys like Rick Glazier have the audacity, man, to tell Eddie Hearn how to do his fucking job. When Eddie Hearn is on top of his competition in the U.S. Rick Glazier giving his opinion like if Eddie Hearn fucking asked for it or needs it. Fucking audacity, man. And one more thing before I end this video. I just wanted to say this. These guys like Rick Glazier and Julian J. Rock Williams, they're just haters, man. They're just hating on Hearns because this past weekend, Richardson Hitchens, Africa, right, just became the IBF world champion by beating Liam Paro. But before coming to Eddie Hearn's Matchroom, he was out on the street. Before signing with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, Africa was signed with Floyd Mayweather and Mayweather Promotions, and he couldn't get a fight to save his life. And now look at Africa. You know, look at him now. World champion. IBF world champion. Headliner. Main event fighter. Eddie Hearn helped him get there. But I bet they won't mention that part, though. I bet dirtbags like Rick Glazier won't mention that part, bro. Dirtbags. It's your boy O-Dog Boxing. I'm out, man.